There's a really clear pattern in Donald Trump's presidency that I want to talk about with you today. And it's really bigger than any one issue. Like sometimes it might apply to the economy. Sometimes it might apply to foreign policy or trade or immigration or energy. But we have this script that keeps repeating itself. And it basically goes like this. Trump declares complete and total victory on an issue. He takes a victory lap. Allies react as if it's real. Markets react as if it's real. People react as if it's real. And then somehow reality catches up. And then we're right back to where we started with less credibility and the impression that Trump is even more weakened than we thought. Now, I think that what happened with Iran this week is kind of the perfect example. A few weeks ago, Trump is celebrating that he had ended the war again for like the 40th time, but this time for real. We've got a historic agreement, peace negotiations for 60 days, a beautiful letter that everybody signs. It's really mission accomplished this time. Markets react. Everybody says he did it. Now, as a reminder, Trump has this week said the ceasefire is done. He even said that the Iranians are scum. They're sick people. They're cuckoo. Here is that clip from earlier this week.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal, and if I make a deal with him, we have a deal, and he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
All right. So it's over as far as Trump says. So we then get to the defining characteristics of Trump's presidency. And that clip is a reminder. The defining characteristic is not solving problems. It's declaring them solved. And in fact, it's bigger. It's during the campaigning on, I'm the only person who can solve these problems and I will. And then it's declaring them solved. And then it's they actually aren't solved and it causes a huge problem for him. Now go back for a moment just to stick with Iran. Look at what right-wing media spent the last month telling viewers. These are screenshots from Fox. Trump promises imminent peace deal with Iran. Friday, Iran deal expected to be signed. Trump, I have to make a deal with Iran. Trump touts progress in Iran nuclear negotiations. This is what Trump wants. This is why Trump claims that he has succeeded in all of these ways, because the headlines become the message. The problem has been solved and now we can move on. Except, again, with so many issues, but sticking with Iran here, the problem isn't really solved. And that's why it keeps happening again and again. There's a reality that is sort of like indifferent to the political messaging. At some point, reality shows up. When it does, it all breaks. The stock market declines precipitously like it did on Wednesday when they realized, damn, this war is fully back on. And think about how many stories we've covered like that. Trump has said inflation is fixed, and then inflation creeps up. And then he says inflation is fixed, and then inflation creeps up. And now it's at the highest point it's been in 3 years. Prices keep going up, even though Trump said they would go down. The tariff scheme was going to make America very rich. And instead, it made markets panic, and it made people's buying power decline. And then we are told, well, the labor market is going to boom under Donald Trump. But we looked at the labor participation rate earlier this week, and it's actually been moving down when Trump promised that it was going to go up. Honestly, even on some of these that we don't want him to succeed, like Trump promised these massive deportations, 3,000 a day or whatever. And it turns out that there aren't 3,000 so-called criminal illegals, Trump's word, not mine, to deport every single day. Not anywhere close to that. And so they're not deporting that number of people. And also they're deporting people that don't fit the description that Donald Trump created. So we end up with this combination of administrative failures, policy failures, PR failures, and in some cases, chaotic legal fights that sort of undermine Trump's promises. Trump promised energy dominance. We just last week were having rolling blackouts and power shortages in the midst of the heat wave because Trump didn't do any damn thing. And then, of course, Trump ended the Iran war 40 times and we're bombing Iran again. So I don't even know that the point here is so much ideological. It's a governance point. It's real governance doesn't mean you gave a speech or you made an announcement. And also, by the way, real governance isn't signing executive orders. You can get stuff done by executive order, but the order itself is basically a memo. It's, I would like someone to do a thing. Certainly, Truth Social posts are not governance. And what continues to be sort of a drag on Trump is that the key is we've announced an agreement. We have to keep the agreement alive. They're not doing that. We have said something that, if true, will stabilize markets, but it's not working because it turns out it wasn't actually true. It's the implementation. That's the work, and this administration can't do it. Trump loves declaring victory. The slow, boring work that you need in order to make the victory permanent doesn't really work so well. Infrastructure Week became the biggest joke, and so did the new healthcare plan, which was always 2 weeks away, because they weren't really getting anything done. And ultimately, people realized that, and we're seeing the same movie with foreign policy. Mission accomplished until it wasn't. Peace until it wasn't. War over until it was back on. When Trump prematurely declares victory, he sets expectations. He's saying, I fixed it. When the problem comes back, people aren't comparing reality to perfection. They start comparing reality just to what Trump said reality was. That's really difficult. And so when voters go to the polls in November, and they'll go sooner if they're voting earlier or by mail, they'll say, why does this keep happening? Why are the promises all failing? And the defining story of Trump's second term isn't so much policy failures. It's that the declared successes are falling apart well before they are finished. And it is going to have electoral consequences in November for Republicans. It's going to be very, very bad. The brutally hot weather we have has a way of exposing malfunctioning underwear. You take one long walk or commute in the humidity, or you're in a studio like this one that's overheated one day, and suddenly it's the sweat and the friction and the readjusting. And this is where Sheath underwear is a game changer. We have a sponsor, Sheath. They just make great underwear built around a pouch design that will separate and support. It'll reduce skin-on-skin contact. It'll eliminate the chafing when things get a little sticky. Their lineup includes 5 or 8-inch boxer briefs. They've got trunks, base layers, socks, and more. You can get bamboo. You can get modal, cotton, airflow fabrics. The airflow fabrics are designed to be cooling and breathable, whether you're moving around or just lounging around. And Sheath's bamboo and modal options are built for soft, comfortable daily wear. You might be doing morning errands. Maybe it's a late night show you're going to. So during these blisteringly hot months, don't just crank up the fan and hope for the best. Upgrade your first layer. Go to sheathunderwear.com/Pakman. Use code Pakman for 20% off your entire order. The link is in the description.